Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Brennan.
It's Tyler.
And this is The Void, where two youth pastors try to talk about anything and everything and discover the intersection between pop culture and faith. And so hope that you're enjoying the podcast we're putting together so far. But today's topic, Tyler, is
It's
something
that just it's near and dear to my heart.
Tyler is much more into this space than I am, but I am very intrigued. We have conversations all the time about our topic, which is conspiracy theories.
Yep, love it.
I love conspiracy theories. However, I am not sold on any of them.
True.
But you, on the other hand,
Well, I am. I'm. If it's a conspiracy, you have to disprove it to me for me not to believe it. You don't even have to prove it to me. Just tell me what it is. Now, I'm not that gullible, but my biggest pet peeve is the people that say like, "Oh, I don't trust the government," or like, "Oh, I'm sure some conspiracy theories are true," but they can never actually point toward any. And that's always my beef with you. Is you'll be like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't trust the government implicitly," but every individual circumstance, you're like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." And
okay.
I'm like,
so let's set some ground rules here.
mhm.
First, let's define what is a conspiracy.
Interesting that you asked me to define it because the CIA actually defined they actually coined the term conspiracy theory in the don't test me on this dates mid-60s because we had the JFK, the Lee Harvey Oswald,
Right.
that which Lee Harvey Oswald, if you don't know, was the scapegoat for the JFK assassination. They coined the term conspiracy theory because they started labeling people who were questioning, who were picking up the obvious breadcrumbs from that assassination, and they actually started pushing anti-conspiracy propaganda. So that's where we get the term conspiracy theorist. But literally what it means is you think there's something under the surface. Like you think that there's a narrative that's been given, but you think the truth is completely different from that narrative.
But you would say, specifically about JFK, based off of what I'm hearing you say right now, it's not even like, hey, I have a theory. It's like, no, I've uncovered the real truth.
I mean, yeah, that's one of those that everybody knows at this point.
But I don't feel like that's the truth.
It is, though. It is.
That is universally accepted?
I think so. In my world, it is. In my universe. Have you read that book I gave you? Or I didn't even give it to you yet. Dude.
No, you gave it to somebody else before me.
Yeah. He read it. Dude, just read it. I mean, it's one of those things that 10, 20 years, they did a good job covering it up. But 50 years ago, dude, the cracks are starting to show.
What about, like, the Illuminati?
Oh, the Illuminati.
Like, are we going that far?
We'll go as far as you want to go.
Because you got, like, Freemasons. You got Illuminati.
Mm-hmm. True. I don't know anything about the Freemasons. I'm just going to tell you. I don't except for the fact that I've met a guy who's a Freemason who's like, yeah, we literally just do community service and, like, it's not a big deal. Like, because they're actually a Christian organization. So if you talk to, like...
What am I talking about?
No, you're talking about the Freemasons.
Okay.
They hold, like, Christian values.
Like Nicolas Cage, like...
Yeah.
National Treasure type thing?
So they despise that stereotype of, like, the evil people who are, like, satanic. And
you mean tell me that's not
And I'm
true?
not saying that they don't do that. I'm just saying if you're a Freemason, you're watching this, don't come at me. But I don't know what the Freemasons do. I don't know.
So let's just put Freemasons in there with the Illuminati because we don't really know anything about the Freemasons.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd appreciate that.
I know. But conspiracy theories just in general.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Because I do think this is something I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a big rise in conspiracy theorists in like the last, 5 years?
Definitely true.
Why?
I think it's all Gen Z. This is my favorite
That's
part.
a hot take.
It is. Dude, seriously, this is my favorite part about Gen Z is, honestly, when I say favorite part, I'm not like saying like, oh, like haha meme. This is seriously my favorite part about this generation where I think they have the most promise is that they're so conspiratorial minded. Like, dude, they don't trust anything. We have a generation of teenagers that is more comfortable with doing their own research and independent thinking than like any other generation ever. So like millennials, our generation, we're kind of laced with some distrust of the government. And then like the generation, what is it, Gen X before millennial? I don't even know. That's the generation that's like, shut up and do what the government says. If you're Gen X and you're not that, I'm sorry. But generally, that's what it is. But Gen Z is like, I don't believe anything. I mean, this is my favorite statistic. that's ever been recorded in the history of statistics. And that's when they asked Gen Z. And don't worry, we're not going to go into the flat earth conversation. Maybe not. But they asked Gen Z, are you convinced? I think it was like a 2020 poll. Are you 100% convinced that the earth is a globe? I think the number was 64% said yes.
64%.
Only 64%. So that doesn't necessarily mean that 36% of Gen Z thinks the earth is flat, but they're just saying, I'm not for sure.
36% of people
I love.
have never been in an airplane to see it.
Dude, you been in an airplane?
Yeah, to see you can see the.
No, you can't. Dude, no shot. I'm not a flat earther, but you cannot see the curve from an airplane.
You can definitely see the curve.
I don't know about that.
Let's go on an airplane.
This is why we have to fly to Universal instead of drive. So now we can just settle that and just be like, no, there's a little bit of curvature over there.
That's the entire reason.
I don't know, dude. I've specifically looked for it, not to prove to myself that the earth is a globe, but just to find the curvature. I can't see it. Like the beach, dude, dog, that's a piece of paper flat.
Okay, that's fair.
That's why you have flat earthers, is because if you take a picture, a video, whatever, you do the quick little math on your screen and there's no curvature. So that's why people are like, oh, it's flat.
So if you're standing on the beach,
Mm-hmm.
watching the sunset, and then the sun disappears, does it just go down?
Oh, are you telling me from a flat earth perspective?
Yeah, just go down the side of the earth?
So it's going to be hard to explain, like to like if you're just listening. But so basically, it's a disc. Think about a disc, and the way the sun moves is it does. You know how we, according to NASA and modern day science, you know how we go around the sun. Yeah. According to actual science, we go around the sun, and we're also spinning. So we're like kind of doing two circles. Flat Earth is the same way, except the sun and the moon do that. So the sun does many circles while doing one big circle, and the moon does the same thing. Like I said, not a flat earther, but there apparently is a way where you can draw it up and make it work. By the way, flat earth is not a fringe thing anymore. I mean, I have close to double digit like flat earth friends. Like it's a thing.
This should go on the record. All of our listeners should know this, that before I met you, I had not even heard of many of these things, but you have some of the most, what I would consider fringe group friends.
I got a wide database for sure.
You have a wide database.
I love that.
Which is amazing. I've learned a lot.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, though. You run into somebody at a coffee shop, and they're like, I'm a cool guy. I like sports, and I watch, the news. And you run into someone else that's like, I think the earth is flat, and the government wants to kill me. Who do you want to sit down and talk to more? The second guy all day long, which is why I had those friends. No, and I'll be honest. At first, it was like to oogle at them and like call them crazy and feel better about myself.
Okay.
But now I realize, like, dang, some of this stuff's like legit.
So just take flat Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I would consider modern science and all these different things we're talking about, conspiracy theories in general. I think it comes from here's where it's weird. People don't trust the information that they're getting from the government.
Sure. Yeah, that's where it comes from.
So, is the government trustworthy?
I think if you did a poll and asked, is the government trustworthy? At least 99% of people would say no. What do you think
the majority of people, teenagers?
No way. It'd be at least, I'm lowballing. At least 90% would say no.
Do you think Generation Z is less trusting of the government than previous generations?
Yeah, they really are.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Look it up. There's stats that show that Gen Z is like, they're super, like I said before, they're super conspiratorial minded. They don't trust anything. Which, from like a gospel perspective, or from a Christian perspective, that's why deconstructionism, not to go off on a rabbit hole, but to go off on a rabbit hole, that's why deconstructionism is so popular, which is just deconstructing from the faith, because they're going to look at something like that. Most people just look at it's like, yeah, this is the rock solid word of God, and be like, I don't agree with this, and this, so I'm out. Okay. Which it's got its pros and cons, but Gen Z they're such good independent thinkers, and this is where all these conspiracies. Like, have you heard that Australia isn't real? This is my personal favorite.
There's no way.
I promise. Australia, you haven't heard that Australia isn't real?
So what about all of our Aussie friends?
They're actors.
They're actors?
Yeah, I don't think this. I want to go on the record and say I'm not an Australia truther, but yeah, there is a very large following of people that say Australia is not real.
That is ridiculous.
Well, let me kind of give you the roots that I know of. And apparently, like in the late 1700s, like 1780 something, because I know Australia was established as like a penal colony. So like all all the people in Great Britain that were like convicts and got in trouble, they just shipped them. They were like, let's just ship them to Australia and just have them work and build a civilization on an island. Like that was their punishment, because at the time they had so many like prisoners and convicts. Well, the theory of Australia isn't real came out in like the mid 2000s, and apparently there's some evidence that says that the British government actually just killed all those people, which is like hundreds of thousands of like prisoners. And they didn't actually send them to Australia. They just killed them. And Australia is a cover up for that mass murder. So
That's a joke, right?
no, it's legit. I mean, to someone like me and you, it's a joke, but no, there's people that believe this. And so the Australian cover up is what you have is you have kangaroos and dingoes and Australian people. Those are all just part of the cover up to cover up that mass murder that was 300 years ago.
Have you heard of birds aren't real?
I have heard that one.
Okay.
That one. Now that one is, to me, I'm like, really?
But did you know that he came out and said
Who's he?
that the guy that started birds aren't real?
Oh, I didn't hear this.
He came out a couple months, maybe it was a couple months ago, maybe it was a year ago.
Mhm.
I think Vice News actually did this whole thing on it. But he came out, he did a documentary. That's how it came out. A documentary about how it was all fake.
Like he made it up?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
I mean,
That's crazy.
But if you haven't checked out Birds Aren't Real, you need to check out Birds Aren't Real.
Birds aren't real.
Especially because
So to clarify, like if I see a bird, like
Yeah.
I don't actually see a bird.
no, the whole
Or-
the whole idea was that birds were like mass murdered,
Oh,
and
so
that-
there were birds at some
there
point.
were birds at one
Okay.
point. Now there are no longer real birds, but every bird that you see is really some sort of robot that's spying on you from the government.
Oh, so it's like a government drone.
It's a government thing, and
Mhm.
so it like caught
Yeah.
fire and everything. But his whole point, which I think getting back to trusting government, getting back to conspiracy theories, is that he was kind of making fun of the whole like mob mentality thing.
Yeah.
Of like I can say whatever ridiculous thing I can come up with, and if I stand outside long enough and act passionate about
Yeah.
it, I can get people to believe it.
It's clearly true.
And so here's kind of the questions around government and conspiracy theory, because you and I talked about from the beginning, like we can't remove our faith bias
Yep.
in all of this. What do you do, especially let's just say Generation Z, that claims to be a believer in Jesus but doesn't trust the government for information? Where is the intersection of the two?
See, I never really thought about it like that. I guess to me, I think, of course, I'm going to say this because it's me. I think the Bible is actually pro-conspiracy. I think that when Jesus' life and he's constantly like just wrecking all the Pharisees and like shutting down, Jesus was so like anti-establishment, which I know that phrase is like used in different ways, but anti-establishment meaning the rules that are in place, the leadership that's in place, the systems that are in place are all corrupt and they're because of sin, and we need to tear them all down and redo it. I think that's like constantly the truth. Like I think that if you look at it from a historical standpoint, it's a nation or a province or an empire or whatever. Establishment, growth, corruption, death. Over and over
Yeah.
and over and over again. And so that's kind of where we are in America right now. Is like we've been established, which was 1776, America got our freedom, all that stuff. Now we grew, we're wealthy. Now we're in the corrupt phase of where we're like, where the government's super corrupt. I mean, you have politicians, not to get overly political, but you have politicians that have been around for 50, 60 years. I mean, that's a long time.
Right.
By the way, if I'm president, first thing I'm doing is term limits. First move. You're talking about 50 years? That's a long time.
That's a long time.
So why is it like the fighter pilots in the military? They have like a 2-year cap.
I don't even know that's a thing.
Yeah, it's like maybe I don't know if it's the Marine Corps or like the Navy, but there's like a 2-year max on like on pilots of like I think it's an F-18, like a certain kind of fighter jet. But when it comes to like running the country, and making like all these legal decisions, nah, like
Yeah.
we're good. Just
See, I'm on the other side of maybe the fence between you and I. Is I don't believe the government's corrupt.
That's crazy.
I
That's
believe
crazy to
I
me.
believe that there's corruption
Yeah.
because
See, like, what does that mean though?
that there are sinful things that happen at every level. But I
Well,
don't.
that's a safe statement.
but it's what I
Yeah,
think.
Yeah.
but I don't think the entity itself is out to like ruin human lives.
See, and that's where the disconnect happens. Is that's a bit of a straw man, I guess, to say like, oh, I don't believe the government's corrupt because they're not trying to hack my device and then come kill me and my family. That's not what corruption looks like. And so back to the Illuminati thing.
Okay.
It's all about the, I guess, elite, or if you want to call me Illuminati, it's all about the people that are in power, that put their families in power, that put themselves in power. Everything they do is to stay in power. Like every law, every bill that gets passed, not every, most bills that gets passed, most laws that get approved, most things that get enacted in government, all are just, I guess, not literally, but figuratively make the rich richer kind of thing. And all they do is just keep growing and growing and growing. So do I think they're going to come kill me? No, but I think they are super corrupt. I think it's a super corrupt. I'm on the other side and say the government as an entity is super corrupt. I think it's like the absolute like peak of like evil and like sin and stuff like that. That's what I think.
So for all the people, and I would even think that you're moderate in that, but for everybody that's maybe a little further than you,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there are people.
Yeah. What do you get at the end of the day?
You mean
like what's the point in being right or wrong on
that? I think there's an individual responsibility perspective. So are you asking like?
I'm asking how does
so say there's like a big conspiracy and the government actually is out to get you, and you who's like not gonna believe it and is like not doesn't know, and then someone like me who like knows and sees it coming. What's the difference?
Yeah, red pill, blue pill guy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's definitely some individual responsibility involved, but like, I don't know. I don't really answer that question because I'm the type of person to where the whole 5G thing.
Probably not.
That's the hottest conspiracy. Like the 5G towers is like getting ready for us to be like poisoned and like all that stuff. So like, say that's real. Say that 5G and all these things are like actually trying to just commit a giant mass murder. I'm gonna die like everybody else. I ain't gonna stop that.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know that, like, for me, it's more of, I like knowing, but it's interesting to learn about these things, like to uncover something that's like, oh, wow, I guess to call out something where you can actually see the cover up. That's what's interesting to me is seeing the truth is one thing, but looking back 30 or 40 years and seeing active efforts to cover something up, that just makes me as a curious person want to just keep peeling back the layers and be like, I want to know about this. I want to know. It's not because I want to go into the belly of the beast and like fight the government. I selfishly, curiously just want to know.
So it doesn't affect your life. You just like being Nicolas Cage.
I mean, I don't want to say yes to that, but I hate Nicolas Cage.
I don't know why I keep coming back.
I don't know why. Dude,
Cage.
If National Treasure is conspiracy for you, you got to step up your game, dude. National Treasure is like weak sauce.
Dude, they're I actually kind of like the movies. I was going to say they're terrible movies.
Dude, Claire loves them.
But I kind of
Claire will binge watch National Treasure movies like once a month, and they're the worst.
Once a month?
Yeah, she watches them a lot. She does.
They're not that good.
No, they're not good at all. And National Treasure is like that one movie that's like not really great, not really terrible, but it's always on TV. Like if you have cable,
remember
National
the Titans
Treasure,
like that too.
Yeah, Remember Titans is great though.
For sure.
National Treasure is not great, but it's always on TV like all the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. But I guess, yeah, for me, I love learning about conspiracies because there are certain things that are just facts that we just don't know. I mean, like, I'm not saying this is a conspiracy, but I found this out last week. I grew up my whole life thinking that hippos could swim.
Dude, am today's years old when I'm learning that they can't swim.
Hippos cannot swim. No way.
What do you mean they can't swim?
They can't swim.
They live in the water.
Right, but they can't swim. I promise you. Look it up. Hippos cannot swim. I was shook when I had to Google that.
I am shook right now.
Yeah, no, hippos, so they're like...
But how's that a conspiracy theory?
No, it's not, but that's what I'm saying. It's a fact that when you say it, you're like, oh, that's not true. But then you're like, oh, that is actually true.
Oh.
Basically, we're subject to just little subtle lies like that. So basically... You believe hippos can swim. Next thing you know, you're brainwashed and your whole family's dead. I mean, that's how it starts, is believing that hippos can swim.
I really do feel like a lot of the theories are like that.
No, they are for sure. And I said that as a joke, but I think it is.
But not.
It's the whole, we're not going to get into this, but I'm just going to give it a mention because we have to. We're talking about conspiracy, like the whole QAnon thing. The point is to be part of that story. Like, I'm going to be part of the few. I'm going to rise up. I'm going to protect my family. When all these other sheep are going to the slaughter, I'm going to be the one leading the charge. That's why most conspiracies are so popular. And that's the whole thing about flat earth is like, well, why does it matter? Why would the government lie? Because they're trying to deceive you. They're trying to trick you. But I know I'm part of the 1%. So
I think that's just a really high view of one's own knowledge, if I'm being really honest.
yeah, it probably is. And I think purpose too. Like kind of being the main character. You got like a mind, like if you're a flat earther and you're in a room full of people, you know those party memes where it's like, they don't know whatever. It's like they don't know that they're all being lied to and the earth's actually flat. Like I think it probably gives some like sense of purpose there. But
Yeah. Now you make me feel bad for saying.
and here's what I'll say too. I'm just gonna go on the record. If the earth is flat, I'm gonna be shocked, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm not even gonna be shocked. I'd be like, oh really? Wow. But I wouldn't be like,
Are you kidding me?
level. No. How do you know it's a globe?
Uh,
But like answer the question because this is what's so important.
I know it's a
Mhm.
globe. One, because I don't believe NASA's taking fake photos.
Okay, why not?
Because I trust NASA.
Why?
Because there's far more intelligent than me.
Yeah, but what does intelligence have to do with motive? So you said because I trust NASA. But
Yeah.
why though?
Because I don't think their motive is to lie to the general public.
But why not?
But why
it's just
would
more
they?
questions. Why wouldn't they?
Because I think we landed on the moon.
You think we landed on the moon? Bro, no shot.
Dude, that's the number one. I can't believe it took us this long.
No
to get
shot.
there.
I know we're almost out of time too. No shot.
But I think we landed on the moon.
Nope.
But yes. But I don't think. One, have you seen some of the cinematic quality from anything in the 60s?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Pretty terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a phenomenal feat to fake that. Two,
That's fair.
yeah, chew on that one. Two, I really don't think people are that sick to try to like be a part of this whole narrative to play this backhanded game where
Yeah.
we're gonna fabricate landing on the moon, fabricate that the Earth is a globe, make all these pictures.
Yeah.
Dude, you know how much like back end work that would take to enforce and like make sure that people
Sure.
still believe that the Earth is a globe?
Right. I agree with that. But let's go back to the moon landing for a second. It wasn't just to sit here like evil and conniving. I'm going to deceive all these people.
Yeah,
Like
I get there was some.
that is. I mean, I don't want to like overspeak. It's probably the biggest technological victory ever.
Right.
Is landing on the moon first during the space race, going into the Cold War era, all that stuff. That was like massive, and so there's plenty of motive there.
Yeah, there was some foreign policy stuff that could have affected.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm. This is where you and I disagree. I'm gonna play it safe and say we landed.
No, bro. Nope. And to me, like it's not even to be like part of the story. I just legitimately like don't. I mean, I'm talking like gun to my head. Do you think it? Yes or no? I'm like, just no. I just don't. Based on, and it's not me waking up and saying, I just don't want to have landed on the moon. It's not because of it's because like there's actual documents, leaked footage. I mean, there's literally a clip of Buzz Aldrin where he's like at this elementary school, and this little girl asked him, and you can look this up. This is probably like you can find it on TikTok, Instagram, or whatever, where she's like, why haven't we been back to the moon? He's like super old at this point. He's like, well, that's because we never went to the moon. And they're like, okay, like, all right, time for, and they like, escort him out really quick. But he said that. He literally said, well, we haven't been to the moon. And he's also said that multiple times. I don't want to say the exact amount because I don't remember, but Neil Armstrong signed like a huge NDA with NASA. He couldn't speak to the media ever. If you like look historically, you have this guy, Neil Armstrong, who's now the world's biggest hero, biggest protagonist ever, landing on the moon, blah, blah. One small step for man. And then he gets back and just goes into hiding. Dude, I'd be writing books. I'd be speaking in schools. I'd be out there. But he wasn't. And then that's where the trail kind of starts. It's like, well, why? Why? And that's what conspiracies is. How many questions are you willing to ask? And when are you satisfied with an answer? Some people, like you, you don't even need an answer. I mean, you're like, because I don't even have the question.
Yeah.
With someone like me, I'm like, but I need an answer. And then when I can't get that answer, it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And I will say, and I guess we'll kind of close with this thought. I want to go on record and say 98% of conspiracies lead to just nothing. It's like a Looney Tunes mural painted on a brick wall. It's just nothing. But there's that 2% that you're like, this is real.
That could be a book.
This is real.
The Hunt for the 2%.
Yeah. That's probably going to be my 7th book in my series. So
I can't wait for the first 6.
yeah, well, you'll have to read them. But conspiracies, man, I'm all for it. If you're listening to this podcast, comment, let us know what your favorite conspiracy is. The question is, do you think Australia is real? Please let us know, because we're dying to know the answer to that question. Follow us on social media, Instagram and TikTok at LPC Youth and the Void Podcast. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify. We got videos on YouTube. Follow us and see you at the next episode.